Hi everybody. Cecile Aaron's here, fixing my hair a little bit. Hi, how are you guys doing? Welcome to Transformation Tuesday. This is Cecile with Get Mental Podcast. We are starting off a new campaign in August. We're calling it Life Interrupted. And we're going to talk about fear of the unknown, ways to cope during times of stress and hopelessness and chaos. Hi Kevin, thanks for watching. And we're also going to talk about later on in the month, depression and anxiety, what it is, what's normal, what's not, and how to help yourselves, and give you guys some pro tips and resources. So today, first of all, I just want to say, thank you for supporting us. Thank you for listening. Thank you for the feedback. We hope that you're finding the content helpful and valuable. And we hope that we are part of your team that sustains you and gives you hope and inspiration. So I just want to acknowledge that. And then secondly, I also just want to acknowledge how incredibly challenging these times have been. And, we're all in different places with this pandemic, but we're all impacted, and so we want to dedicate T&I this month to just making sure we're helping you guys stay strong, positive, and hopeful. So jumping to the topic now for today, fear of the unknown, right? We all have experienced this, but it is so much more pronounced right now for all of us because of this pandemic, because we truly don't know when it's going to end. There are so many things outside of our control. There's so many things changing and shifting. The rules of engagement are confusing sometimes, and there's a lot of polarization around it. So it can be even more frustrating because of that, right? And then on top of that, we also have different coping skills, meaning we all will respond differently to the chaos of the moment. Thank you. Hi, Aline. Thanks for watching. And if you guys have any questions, type away, okay? And I will answer them as best as I can. So, it's normal to have a level of anxiety about this. It's normal to be in a funk. It's normal to sometimes feel sad and overwhelmed. These are normal reactions to really stressful, anxiety-producing times. But what we don't want is for these things to be what we call pathological, meaning when it rises to the level where it's really starting to take over your life and debilitate you, and the symptoms are creating a lot of distress and you're not functioning at the same level. So next week, I'm going to dive deep into that. But today, I really just want to focus on, what this fear of unknown is really about. So fear of the unknown is largely exacerbated by our anxieties, okay? And anxiety, good morning, and anxiety it's good morning where you are. It's good afternoon here. So this is one of our listeners, our viewers from the Philippines. And it's awesome that we have people from all over the country or the world watching. Thank you so much for being here. I hope you find this helpful. So fear of the unknown. I'm getting distracted, guys. All these people are so awesome. Hi, Ags. Thanks for watching. So fear of the unknown, especially, shout out to my friends and family in the Philippines, okay? I know this is so much more pronounced for you guys. I know this because I'm still talking to people, obviously family members. My brother and sister live there. I know how incredibly scary and what a different experience a pandemic is in a developing country versus here. So it's hard across the planet, but it's harder in these places, guys. So count your blessings if you don't live in a developing country. For those of you, my friends who are in the Philippines, I know it's hard and it's scary because the government isn't doing, a lot of things to be transparent and to protect you. And there's a lot of, what I hear is a lot of secrecy around, who's dying and who's infected. And I can only imagine how scary this is for you all. But I know that your faith is sustaining you. And I'm going to talk about that more in a few minutes. I know that your faith is sustaining you. And in times of darkness and trouble, and when we feel like, we don't have a lot of control over what's happening, it really is about surrender. Ultimately, it is about surrendering to our faith, right? And for those of you who don't have faith, because I'm not assuming that all our listeners do, anchoring, when our life is anchored on something bigger than ourselves. So whatever that is for you, whatever that represents for you, please lean on that, because you are not going to be able to get through this alone. Okay? You are not going to be able to get through this alone without any kind of damage or disruption to your life, because this pandemic is really forcing us to be a community. And it saddens me that even a pandemic is still dividing us, but I'm also seeing a lot of good come out of it, and I choose to focus on what is good and what is working and what I can control. And so Get Mental is one of those things that I can control to be part of the solution. So find something that gives you purpose and meaning and a way to serve others. In times of crisis and darkness, service to others is really a protective factor. It will help you stay outside of yourself and, not just be consumed by your own suffering. And I know that, for those with more kind of moderate to serious mental health symptoms, I know that's easier said than done, but I urge you to just do something small, in service of others, whether it's a neighbor or, a family member or, I don't know, somebody at the grocery store. You'll be surprised at kind of how the reciprocal kindness that you'll get back, right? Because before we're anything else, before we're our job, the letters after our name, our car, our house, whatever that we identify with or our egos identify with, we are people first and foremost. But all these events and our lifestyle can disconnect us from one another. So community, faith, anchoring yourself on something bigger than yourself, and service. That's how I want to start this. So going back to what I was saying, fear of the unknown is largely exacerbated by anxiety. It's normal to have fear in this pandemic because there are a lot of unknowns, but what's going to harm or help you, it will depend on your coping skills and on your narrative, meaning the way you're relating to the problem, the way you're making sense of this, because that is what's really going to cause emotions and behavioral consequences. Okay, so follow me here for a second. For every thought, there is an emotional equivalent. So the quality of our thoughts is going to have an emotional impact, and that will have a behavioral impact. So what we think will create emotions, and those two combined will create behaviors. Okay, but what we think is based on how we make sense of something. So if you're caught up in this pandemic, the stories you make around it, how you're making sense of it, is what's going to significantly impact your mood and your outlook and your resilience, your ability to recover and bounce back and sustain yourself. So it's really important to look at that. And next week, again, like I said, I'm going to dive deeper into how to cope. But right now, just a few things. What's happening is happening, okay? Whether we like it or not, it's happening. It's not necessarily just about what's happening. It's how we're relating to it. And this has been coined or derived from one of my favorite authors and teachers that I've mentioned, off and on, Miss Tara Brach. And you can check out her work at tarabrach, BRACH.com. So it's not what's happening, it's how we're relating to it. It's not what's happening, it's how we're making sense of it. It's not what's happening, it's the stories we're saying about ourselves and other people. Okay, so for those of you who watch a lot of politics, be careful, because that's going to create your story about what's happening. The truth is, this pandemic is here, and yes, politically we may differ, but people are dying. This is a deadly disease. Our nurses and our doctors are tired and fatigued and working overtime. You know, we have governments that are managing it better than other governments. And at the end of the day, we are back to one single thing. Okay? Outside of our faith, one single thing. What can we control? What are the controllables? That's our choices, our thoughts, our attitude. We have control over that. That is where we can take responsibility. That is how we can be part of the solution. So, think about that, because like I said, we're all in this together, and I'm not here to preach, okay? I'm just really trying to give you guys a sense of agency over what seems to be insurmountable and scary for many of us. A sense of agency over what seems to be insurmountable and scary for all of us, which is the unknown, okay? We still have power and choice at the end of the day. And I go back to the Holocaust survivor, Viktor Frankl, his book, Man's Search for Meaning. You know, I've quoted him here a couple of times, but he's such a great example of the human courage and strength and his ability to choose a set of attitudes and perceptions given a set of circumstances. And for him, the circumstance was his family was going to be murdered in the gas chamber. And yet he still was able to choose a narrative that served him. He didn't deny the evil, right? But he refused to let that evil become his darkness. He refused to let that evil and that unthinkable experience, I mean, think about it. Put yourself in his shoes. That unthinkable experience define who he is and define his future. And we have that opportunity here, guys, every day, every moment, that we are aware enough, you know, that we are mindful enough, that we have a choice in how we move through this. So that's what we can do with this fear of the unknown, right? Is to become more conscious and aware about how we want to show up. How do we want to rise up to this occasion? And if you're one of those people, unfortunately, who say you have lost your job or have had a loved one pass away, I don't have anybody in my inner circle who passed away, but my outer circle, absolutely, 2 or 3 people have passed away, and it's been very, very sad and disturbing, because one of them actually was an elderly person who passed away by herself. I mean, it's really depressing. And, you know, if we're not careful, all these thoughts can really start to weigh us down. So how do we show up? How do we rise up to the occasion? Self-care is really important. Self-care, okay? But just to kind of simplify this concept, I'm going to leave you guys with 4 F's, because I like to just make this more concrete for everybody. 4 F's that can help sustain you. Faith, family, friends, fortitude. Okay? Faith, family, friends, fortitude. Faith, family, friends are pretty self-explanatory. Fortitude is just this steadfastness, this inner strength and courage, you know, this desire to never quit and to keep growing and learning, you know, and you can cultivate that. That's the good news. These are skills that can be learned and cultivated and practiced. And if you need help with that, look for mentors. Consider the help of a therapist if that's an option. You know, I know for those watching from the Philippines, you know, realistically, therapy is really not always available or affordable. So using your church group, looking at role models to help you, you know, look at the qualities and characteristics of people you admire who seem to be resilient and strong and still positive through adversity. Just seek out support. I cannot stress that enough, because the isolation in and of itself will create issues for us. We are not meant to be alone. We are pack animals, you know, and we thrive and we're relationally wired for connection. So if you don't have anything else, seek that out. Seek connection, okay? The other thing I want to talk about is social comparison. Try to avoid, as much as you can, social comparison. Because in times of trouble, and if you're feeling really down about yourself, and if you're, say, just feeling insecure about your life, or you just lost your job, I mean, you're already in a vulnerable place because of all the emotions you're experiencing. And then when you look at social media and maybe you see, or just someone, in your neighborhood, and maybe you see somebody who seem to be doing better than you. Hi, Ben. Thanks for watching. Hi, Maui. You guys, please comment or ask questions as you see fit, and I'll do my best to answer them. So social comparison, like I said, is a deadly trap. I mean, we all do it. We all evaluate ourselves kind of consciously or unconsciously in relation to our peers, but it's especially dangerous if you're doing it without the awareness, if you're already vulnerable. Because I don't know about you, but I'm human. It's happened to me where I'm off guard, I'm having a bad day, I see something, I read something, and it just can create a negative spiral, right? But if you have enough awareness, you can recognize, oh, I'm there, I'm doing that social comparison thing again, and then you can redirect some of those thoughts, right? And if that's a problem, or you're having a hard time doing that, again, enlisting the help of a therapist, if you have resources to do that, is really, really helpful, because we can help you with kind of those skills of how to recognize and redirect those thoughts, and how to anchor yourself in something kinder and truer about yourself and what's going on. Or if that's not an option for you, talking it out with a trusted friend. Be vulnerable, because guess what? You're not the only one feeling that way. I can guarantee you that. Okay, so insecurities are normal, common, feelings of inadequacy, but self-care is key. Because if you're already vulnerable, like I said, and you're already feeling a lot of, unpleasant, intense emotions related to COVID-19 and how it's impacted your life, those environments are not going to serve you. So you have to have a sense of like, okay, what environments are serving me right now and what environments are not? And put a boundary on the environments that are not serving you. That's part of healthy self-care. The other thing too is that you have to understand we are all at different places in our journey, and no one's going to be at the same place as the other person. We're all evolving, as human beings. We're all doing our best. Are we not? We're all doing our best. And what that looks like is different for everyone. So, just try to be kind to yourself. Tell yourself things you would tell a friend, right? Oftentimes, we are our own worst critic. And psychologically speaking, there's a lot of reasons for that. I can't get into it right now. And, kind of a simple explanation is core beliefs. Those are core beliefs that are usually learned earlier on in our lives. And without it being examined or processed, you just keep carrying this core belief in your backpack of life, and you just keep carrying it around with you everywhere you go, every person you're with, every relationship you end up with. So nothing is going to change, even though the scenery is changing or the people you're with are changing. If that backpack isn't cleaned out, nothing much is going to change. You're just changing the scenery, not the experience necessarily. So that's something to also think about. Lastly, is you guys need to remember your true essence, okay? I know times are really tough, and for some people are still thriving in this environment. Some people aren't, and I have a lot of people I love in my circle. I'm gonna get emotional, that are not doing well, and I worry about them, and it makes me really, really sad. And that's partly why I was inspired to talk about this. You are more than your job. You are more than your house. You are more than the car you drive. You are more than your status. You are more than your career. I know it's hard to really embody that, because we've been conditioned. We're all part of a larger conditioning that has, deceived us into thinking that that's our worth, right? We're so accustomed to accomplishment and acquisition, we forget we disconnect from the true nature of our being, of our worth. You're already worthy. You're already worthy. You don't have to earn it. There is nothing more that you need to do. It already is. It already is. And if you don't believe that, if you don't believe that yet, and you have the capacity or resources to get some mentorship or therapy or coaching or mindfulness group, whatever it looks like for you, please do it. Please do it. It is worth every ounce of effort and money and time, because the freedom that you feel when you truly believe that is not your worth is priceless. It's priceless. So it's normal to feel that way, but I don't want you guys thinking that there's no better way, and I don't want you guys believing that. It's a lie. It's a lie. So I just really want to emphasize that let us not forget who we are, our true essence, our being, and what our true worth really is. You are not any of those. And these moments don't have to define you. It might knock the wind off your sails, sure, but it doesn't have to diminish you, okay? And if you need help, seek it out, seek support. If you live in San Diego, and you're looking for resources, DM me. T and I are here to help you. And just know you're not alone. Just know you're not alone, okay? So, thank you guys for listening. I really appreciate your time, your attention. I know your time is precious. So just you watching, pausing, saying hi means a lot. And I do hope that, we give you value and inspiration and hope, because that's really the only reason we exist. So thank you so much again. Stay tuned for Thursday. T's going to give his perspective and talk on how to manage fear of the unknown. And like I said, in the coming weeks, we're going to talk about how to help you guys sustain yourselves and cope and navigate these very uncharted and anxiety-producing waters. But for now, be well, be gentle, get mental, because we all have issues.